to show you how to put the keys back on your lower joint. I'm not suggesting that for any reason you should take the keys off of your lower joint. But it's been asked time and time again, you know, let's say that you don't have access to a repair technician and there's something on your lower joint, you want to take some keys off, and you're afraid of that. You should be a little bit, but it's okay if you have some keys off of your lower joint right now and you're seeing this video because now you're having a problem. Don't worry, we're going to get you there, all right? Okay, so the first thing that you need to put back on your oboe, if you have taken this E-flat spring off, that needs to go on. And then the other, there's 2 screws right here in the middle. This is a buffet oboe. This will be very similar to Loray's. Most Howarth oboes have a slightly different setup, but you'll be able to figure it out. So the first thing that we need to put back in is those 2 screws that go kind of in the middle of the joint. And if you took apart your own oboe and you are not an oboe repair technician, you might have left these 2 screws in. The reason the low C and then the C sharp, D sharp pinky lever, the reason why those 2 screws go in first is because once you get some other keys on, you won't have access to these posts to get your screwdriver in here. Get your fingers, get the little screws, get the screwdriver in there. So those 2 little pivot screws, the north side of the low C and the C sharp, D sharp levers, they go first. All right, next we got to find our F key. Now I have my keys in a pile. I also have a screwdriver and some key oil that I'm going to be putting on these as we go. So let's find the F key. F key, F key, F key. Here we are. Here's our F key. F key has to go on first. If you put stuff here over where the F key goes, then you'll have to undo what you've done. Get the oboe naked again. The F key has to go on first because the lower stack keys go on top of it. And as I go, because this is an oboe that I disassembled and cleaned the hinges so that I could put fresh key oil in it. So that's what you're going to see me doing as I go. All right, our F key is back on our oboe. Blot away the excess key oil. Next is going to be what I call the lower stack. So that's going to be like the finger keys for your right hand. So like F sharp, forked F, E, and D. That's how I call them. That's not how everybody calls the keys. The naming conventions can be different. I'm not super worried about it. I like to call the keys the names of the note that, you know, as you're an oboe player, you're going to press this key right here in order to play F sharp. So I call it the F sharp key. So that's a little vocab lesson. All right, so we have F sharp, part of the D, the E. We need to find just a couple more in our pile here. Let's see, where is the other half of the D? And I also need the F key. So here's the other half of the D key. And where's my forked F key? I call it forked F key. It's the little one that is the neighbor to the E. If that doesn't make sense, don't worry about it. All right, key oil, 1, 2, 3. When I put my lower stack on, I do it in a particular order. I take the lower half of the D key first, and go ahead and hook it on its spring and kind of hold it in place. Get its neighbor, the upper half of the D ring on there, and then get the E. And you may have to kind of fiddle with it and get that spring on that E before you get the hinge rod through. Some oboes you don't have to hook the springs as you go like this, and some oboes you do. For D and E in particular, I am in the habit of just getting them on the oboe with the springs engaged. The F sharp and F on some oboes, you know, you can't get the spring engaged once you have this hinge rod in there. You'll figure it out if that's the case. Okay, so we're gonna put a little bit of key oil on the hinge rod here and kind of line everybody up a little bit and go through like this. And you may reach kind of a stopping point where, you know, as you push the long screw through all these hinges, it may kind of get stuck on something that's not quite aligned. So you just, like what I'm doing here is I'm just jiggling things around. Okay, looks like we're through the E key. Let's get through the D. Here we go. And you may also have to, you see how this is not, as I turn the screw here, it's not screwing in, and it's just because it's not aligned here. So I'm just gonna help that line up. One cool way that you can prevent cross-threading is if you loosen, hear that click, then tighten. And key oil seepage. There we go. Cool. As soon as you get these right hand keys on, if possible, look really closely and just make sure that the springs, the little points of the springs are where they're about supposed to go. If the keys have pretty good action, like you can hold them all down, and it seems like everybody is appropriately springy, and our springs are where they're supposed to be. Cool. Next, we're going to do F resonance. So, oh, it's right here. And, but before we do the F resonance key, we need the rocker. Little bitty teeter-totter guy. Okay. F resonance rocker. And F resonance key. And then screw them both in. These hinge screws usually will work best if you just tighten them till they're snug. You don't need to like leave them loose. You don't need to try and tighten them as tight as humanly possible. Just snug them down. If you have one that maybe occasionally will unscrew itself over time, you can maybe tighten that one a little bit tighter and see if that helps. Okay, now we have everybody back on our oboe, except for our low and pinky keys. Next, I'm going to go down here to low B. I'm going to find our low B key, the key with the pad on it. This one right here. Low B. Key oil. I am on oboes in the habit of kind of engaging most of the springs onto the key as I go. Technically, what you should do is put the key on without engaging the spring. It doesn't really matter a lot either way. Even though technically for any instrument assembly, the best practice is to put the key on and then catch the spring into its little spring catch. Like I said, for oboes in particularly here with D and E, sometimes you can't get those on after the screw is in place. Okay, low C is next. Here we are. Put a little bit of pivot grease on the ends of this. Pivot grease, boop, and boop. Okay, low C. Low C, you do need to get it into its north side pivot screw. Oh, and I shouldn't have screwed this in. Gotta unscrew B, line the C up with the hinge, and screw it back in. There we go. It's important when you put your C key on that the tab on the back side of the C key is on top of the E flat spring. You don't want this tab to be underneath the spring. All right? Okay. Springs. Low B and low C. Good. Next is going to be the D sharp and C sharp right hand pinky levers. Let's see, where are my friends? Here they are. Here we are. Again, pivot grease, and get that in that north side pivot screw, and then take the south side one, which I may need to help it out of its safe keeping place. There we go. And south side pivot screw into there. Okay. And springs. Spring 1 and spring 2. All right. Next are going to be C sharp, D sharp, and banana key. So I just like to start from the bottom. Let's start with C sharp. And again, I'm just showing, you know, a quick reassembly of an oboe that I'm not having questions about, like, oh, is this oboe airtight or whatever. Okay, get back in the camera here. Let's get back into the view of the camera. So C sharp, that's now in there. Clean it up. And D sharp. This is what the D sharp key looks like. It goes right here. D sharp. Okay, and this oboe does have a banana key. Let's find that. Here we are. One banana key. right, we're cooking right along here. All right, the next one is going to be the C to D trill lever, and also the left F lever that kind of share a hinge rod here on most oboes. Some oboes may be slightly different. Let's see, here's our trill lever, and where is our left F guy? Here it is, left F connecting lever. Everything on the oboe has a name. Right. Key oil. And again, I've done my kind of usual habit of putting these on with the springs engaged. Sometimes it's actually easier not to hook the springs, but sometimes you just don't have a lot of clearance to move those springs around into their places after the keys are in place. And I'm finding that particularly true. Well, this oboe's not so much. Some oboes, the spring setup, once the keys are in place, the spring catch is really, really close to the body of the instrument, which can be good because the spring is less likely to slip out of place. Oh, this oboe's not so bad. I would have been able to get that in there. Okay. So there's our trill lever and our F connecting lever. All right, next is going to be pinky levers. Well, first we need our low B flat bridge. I usually do that one first. Let's find the low B flat bridge in our handy pile of keys. This one right here. Low B flat bridge. Put that on. Go. Once again, we're not in view of the camera. This one can be a little tricky to know which way it goes. Like, does it go this way or does it go this way? So you may have some trial and error to figure that out. Usually, on the top side, there's a key cork here, and there's not one here. And on most oboes, if that's the case, the key cork is going to be on the north side, connecting to the rest of the pinky levers, and the uncorked side is going to go where it's going to connect. There's a cork here, so you don't need one here, typically. And then before we screw that in, we're gonna put on the little cluster of our left hand pinky levers. Low B flat, and left hand D sharp. All going to go right here. So this one can be tricky to put on to the oboe. I like to nestle the hinge like against the post where it goes, and then the little arm here needs to go underneath the banana key, but on top of, oh, you see how that just wanted to go underneath of the little tab on the D key? That is not going to be cool because now our D key doesn't shut, right? So we have like an under over scenario here. There we go. That's what's supposed to happen. And then down here, this needs to go under this tab that connects to the low B. And now that that's all in place, we're going to take this south side screw here and tighten that. The north side screw is going to be a short little pivot screw again, one of these little guys. Get that in there. Usually I'd be a little set up where there's not a phone where my head wants to be so I can see. But there we go. We got it. All right, pinky levers. Yeah, that one can be tricky. Okay, last piece, left F. Sometimes the left F key on certain models of oboe, it can kind of seem like, I'm trying to think of, well, most oboes you can get the left F key on last, like I just did. On some oboes, it might be a little easier if this cluster of pinky keys is disconnected, so it has room to, you know, get this hinge underneath of this hinge. That's one reason why the oboe is more challenging to repair and maintain than some other woodwinds. We just have a lot of pieces and parts per square inch. They all overlap. All right. So it looks like that was about 20 minutes to fully assemble our lower joint. Looks like her key action's all good. All right, good luck with your oboe at home.